True stories, true stories. Ooh, yeah. All right. These things are so fun. These little things on Instagram. So, hello. I am basically here to educate, to inform, to inspire, to shed light on, to educate. I said that again. I'm Dr. Kalaki Clarke, and here is my story. Not my whole story, but part of the story. So imagine being a kid or a young child growing up. Everything's perfect. You don't have any issues, really. You apply to medical school, you get in with the full tuition scholarship. And then you go to residency, and then it's like, what's going on? And you break down, and then you get back on your feet again, and you practice medicine, you get board certified in family medicine. But prior to that, you find out you have ADHD. Wait, what? I thought that was only for the hyperactive kids that are bad and jumping around all over the place. How can I have ADHD? But it's legit. I found out about 7 years ago, at age 35, that I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, inattentive type. So what does that even mean? I'm not going to get into too much of that definition right now, because I'm going to have a very intelligent guest join me in a moment, and she's going to break it down a lot better than I can, because it's part of what she does all day, every day. But what I will say is that it's real, and that a common question, or I think misconception that people might have, besides it just being an issue for hyperactive little boys, is that, oh, you'll grow out of it, they'll grow out of it. Well, I'm 42 years old, and I haven't grown out of it. I didn't know I had it. I didn't know it was something I was about to or needed to grow out of. But nevertheless, I'm here. I am helping people every day by the grace of God. And I'm just here to help get that question answered about, so if it doesn't go away, well, how can we prepare the future, like any kids, so that they can be ready for the world? Because what I've noticed is that colleagues or others that have ADHD, and they were aware of it when they were younger, seem to be a little bit more adjusted or have figured things out a little bit more than someone like me who finds out as an adult. Another thing I've noticed is that for females, the presentation is often different than it is for males. So oftentimes we're the inattentive type, which I said I wasn't going to go into it, but I'll just go into it. So our challenges usually are issues with time management, issues with losing things, issues with organization, prioritization, issues with emotional regulation can be a challenge. But anyway, there's still hope for us. And what I like to say for people who wonder, how do you be a doctor, you have ADHD? I'm like, I'm a human being and I have ADHD. Why not? The thing is, I say, if I have ADHD and I'm able to accomplish what I have been able to accomplish, what's your excuse? Or I say, in spite of the ADHD, I'm grateful I've been able to accomplish, etc., etc., etc. But I'm not going to keep talking a lot. I really want to introduce you all to my guest, and she is a very intelligent, bright physician that I honestly deeply respect. Her name is Miss Nerissa Bauer, MD, MPH, and she is a behavioral pediatrician and entrepreneur who resides in Carmel, Indiana. She left academia in December 2018, basically due to burnout. I get it. She has a part-time behavioral health practice, and she created a program called TEACH Me ADHD, which is an online course for families. And she's also host of Let's Talk Kids Health Live Show on behavioral health and parenting. She's the CEO of Let's Talk Health LLC. And she is also a spokesperson for the American Academy of Pediatrics. She's very intelligent. She is very knowledgeable. She's down to earth. She is just like Dr. Bauer is it. and she's here to join me. Hello there.
Hello. I am
Thank you for
so
joining me.
excited. Yes, of
I'm going to stop the
course.
sparkle right now because I'm getting carried away with it. I'm gonna make it a little subtle. I'm not gonna take everything away, but I'm just gonna keep it a little
I
more.
wish I had some sparkle on me. I don't.
I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna teach you later. Oh, no, I don't like that one. Okay, see the ADHD, easily distracted. Got all these little gadgets and gizmos. Not gonna do that one. Oh, that's nice. I really focus on you for this one. Anywho, let me stop being silly and let's get to it. I'm gonna stick with this one. This is kind of well, I'm frozen right now, but anyway, this is kind of like interesting. All right, so Dr. Bauer, I have a couple of questions for you, okay? Because even though it might be expected me as a doctor, me having ADHD, I should know these answers, but sometimes you just don't know it, and it's good to get the input of a professional like yourself who has studied it intensely and deals with it on a daily basis and helps people all the time with it. So tell me, for the audience, in a way that's understandable, what is ADHD and why the
Yeah.
letters? What is that? What is it?
Yes. That's such a great question. And that's always where I start when I make a diagnosis of ADHD. I think everybody needs to just know what it is. And we use that time to check what families think it is also.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
I'm so sorry.
And
Go ahead. Sorry, I got to
I,
get it right. This is not it.
oh,
I
look
don't
at
have to
that.
take notes.
Beautiful,
That's
beautiful.
nice.
No,
That's cool. Natural, not overdoing it, not too many sparklers in a way. Go ahead. I'll be quiet.
no, no. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I would say the easiest way to explain it is that we know it's much more than just a behavioral diagnosis, especially coming from me and as a pediatrician who sees many kids with ADHD. Sometimes kids just get a bad rap, like they're just misbehaving, they can't sit still, they're just disruptive, you know, they get known for those things. One of the first things that I need to do when I explain to a parent and as well to the child is to help them understand that it's much more than just those behaviors. It's actually a brain-based condition that affects the frontal lobe, which is right here. And I oftentimes will bring a little model to help
Yes.
kids visualize,
Yes.
because ADHD brains need to visualize things.
Yes.
And I explain to them that there's different parts of the brain, but especially this part right here, frontal lobe, right there, front part. And I explain to them what that part of the brain does. And we know that our brains, even though they're awesome, amazing things, they're still developing until kids are 25. Young adults.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. And this part of the brain is really responsible for what we call executive functions. Huge word. In my class, I break that down. Every single word I use the scientific word because kids are going to hear it.
Yeah.
But then I break it down even further. And executive functions basically are the set of skills that we need to manage and navigate life. All the little things that we think about, like, ooh, I'm hungry. Gosh, that means I've got to get up, go to the kitchen, look in the fridge, get the stuff out, find the plate, all those sequential steps. All of that takes organization, planning, understanding sequence, and breaking down a task. I'm hungry. I need to eat into
Right.
smaller steps. And, people with ADHD who think and learn a little bit differently, they struggle in executive functions because, again, like I said, that area of the brain is still developing until 25. But we also know, based on research, that individuals with ADHD, their frontal lobes are actually, lagging in these skills about 3 to 5 years behind normal age peers. When I tell parents that, they're like, what?
Is that part
So,
also smaller too? Isn't it also
yes,
smaller?
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, smaller volume.
Yeah.
But I always tell kids when I tell them that, it doesn't translate to the fact that it means that they're not capable and they're not
Right.
smart. Okay.
Right. Right.
I mean, I'm always a little bit like, I want to make sure that kids
Mm-hmm.
understand that smaller doesn't necessarily mean worse right?
Yeah, right.
You know,
You know how you can
so
put it? So you actually can put it to make them in a positive swing of it. Smaller just might mean it's more compact, right?
yeah,
Like all that intellect is bunched up in that little small part versus the neurotypicals, they have it all spread out, right?
yeah, yeah,
Our
yeah.
intellect is, my intellect is in that little small little frontal lobe there, right? Yep. It has nothing
That's
to do with
right.
intellect.
That's
That's a good
right.
spin on it. I'm
Nothing to
gonna
do
use
with
that
that.
one. Hmm.
Yes, yes, I love that. And you know, in addition to sort of the breaking down tasks into smaller parts and its goal-directed behavior, other cognitive skills include just sustaining attention, shifting attention, um, prioritizing, organizing, managing your time, managing emotions, learning to be able to step back and understand how you are functioning and pivoting as needed, kind of reflecting on things. And so there's so much, like this part of the brain is really what makes us human and helps us be able to function in everyday life.
Hmm.
And so again, it's so much more than just a behavior problem. It is an executive function issue. It's also an issue of not being able to keep attention, but to shift attention from super exciting things to more dull things. So preferred
Right.
activities to complicated, boring stuff, right? That's
Hmm.
where people with ADHD have a really hard time. It's not that they can't focus, you know, they can. And they have some superpower called hyperfocus.
Hmm.
But, you know, what our brains focus on and find pleasurable is different. And so part of what I try to do when I work with new families on this diagnosis is to really introduce basic concepts and have kids reflect. What have you noticed about this? What's easy about school? What's more challenging? And I want them to be able to have that space to reflect, because what are we doing? We're teaching them how to be observant,
Yeah.
basically how to be detectives and how to look for clues about how their brain is functioning, where they're sailing, where they feel good, and other times when they feel hard, terrible, you know, frustrated, overwhelmed, because it's in those moments that then we need to teach our kids what they can do for help, to help
Mm-hmm.
themselves, to help their brain,
Hmm.
to rally, you know. And so
Yeah.
it's really from a place of non-judgment, no
Right.
shame, no blame. This is just a part of the biology.
You know what? Let me comment on something. Wow, you actually literally let me understand something about your program. Like you just said it right there. You said like because the whole it's a detective theme. You know, I was Detective Lateral Mind, and my daughter was Detective Super Fun. And you just mentioned that you know you're teaching us to look for clues, right, about ourselves and what things that how we operate, so we can know how to I guess find solutions and solve the problem, whatever it is in life that we have to deal with. Wow, I never got that connection until
Yes.
now. But you're
Yeah.
so brilliant. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Wow.
well.
No, that's
I mean,
amazing. I just yeah, you're happy. Wow. Sorry.
well,
And
we
I'm all
just made
about
that
looking for
connection.
clues. I'm all about puzzles and looking for clues and you know, let me see. I like puzzles and figuring stuff out and you know, and then you know just kind of figuring things out like a puzzle and trying to put all the
Yeah.
pieces together. And so like right now in real time I was able to put together the pieces of what your whole program is. It helps kids and families you know piece things together to help to um, make up for those executive functions or to still thrive in spite of those challenges with executive function. Yeah, one
Yes.
of the ways you identified or called it, I'm gonna go back. Sorry, I don't know which one it was, but it wasn't that. It wasn't
I am
that. Oh
so
God.
jealous right now. Like, I
No, you're gonna learn.
totally.
You're gonna do it. But the difference between you and me is once you figure out which one you like, you're gonna find it and you're gonna be prepared and you're gonna stick to it. You're not gonna be like in real time changing it up and getting distracted. Oh no, this is the one. Oh my God. The juggling of my face, I cannot with this. I don't know who thought about that. They must have ADHD. They had to have had ADHD. Like, come on, who does that? So I don't know if that was it, but I don't care. Yeah, flaws and all, I'm still Wonderful. So let's
That's
just keep
right.
it. We're keeping it 100%. It can only get better from here, right? When you start
Yep,
off like
yep,
this.
yep.
Yeah. So wow, one of the analogies or the ways you described the executive function in your program was the air traffic controller, right? The air
Yes.
traffic controller is how you can look at the frontal lobe as that part of like it directs everything, and so every little thing like planning a meal, like getting yourself dressed to go to school or to work. Those things have to be coordinated, like you said, to organize yourself, to prioritize, to just line things up. Even process of cooking, not just going to get food, but cooking a meal. There's things have to be coordinated because if it's not, then dinner's not ready, right on time at least. If you're
Yep.
still trying to mix the egg while the oven is still beeping because it's ready for you, while it's just a lot of coordination that occurs that people who don't have our challenge can easily take for granted and not realize that, these are steps that they don't think about, that we have to like literally think about,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I really love how in your class you it's like these milestones, like every lesson is focused on one particular, challenge or mission that we have to accomplish, and it's focusing on just the basis of health, of getting rest and exercise. And
Mm-hmm.
you teach the kids about nutrition, carbohydrates and fats and what they are, and how we want to minimize and make good choices. I think I still have that plate around somewhere where my daughter wrote down she wants to eat more broccoli or something like that. That's one of her
Yes.
goals. And she kind of cheated on that one because she liked broccoli anyway, but whatever, I gave it to her. That means she'll be more consistent with it. You know what I'm saying? We always try to find loopholes sometimes, but uh, sorry, it told me my time limit was up for Instagram, but whatever.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna ignore that one right now. But yeah, and it's very practical. I mean, so practical to the point where, I'll share as a big girl adult, I literally was having some challenge with time management with work arrival, and I have the best supervisor on the planet. I mean, literally, what supervisor do you know? You tell me you have ADHD and you get hired 2 days later. Who does that, right? So she knows the challenges, and she literally gave me step by step. Okay, this is your. I won't say it's embarrassing, but it is what it is. Okay, I'm being transparent because everyone doesn't have this struggle. So hopefully you can appreciate that we do a lot just to do the basics that everybody else can take for granted, right?
Yes.
So she gave me my nighttime routine checklist, and then she told me to have my morning checklist. It might be like, duh, you're a grown woman, you should know that. Well, Dr. Bauer just described that executive function, that brain is not as developed as it is for those who don't have the challenge. So then that natural ability to just, in the brain, just, check to get the stuff ready for bed the night before. Honestly, thinking about getting my clothes ready the night before is something to think about, because in my mind, it's not time to go yet. So why am I bringing out my clothes, right? For ADHD, the time is either now or not now. There's no in between,
Yes.
right? It's
That's
like,
right.
I'm not about to leave the house, so what are these clothes here for? Like, prepare my lunch the night before, huh? I'm not going to eat that until like what, 24 hours, 12 hours later or something. That's ridiculous, But I guess the rest of the world, the rest of the whatever 94% of adults that don't have ADHD, they do those things, right, on a natural, like, automatic basis, right? But no, we don't do that. And I think the beautiful thing is that with my daughter learning early the habits that she can develop and do and keep track of, her time and make her own checklist, which you guide us on doing. She has her own checklist for the morning and night. It'll be something automatic. So by the time she's an adult like me, it's not even a thing. She's, not that she throws it away, but it's ingrained. We
Yeah.
need repetition, 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 repetition. Repetition is what gets it. Maybe.
Yes, no, it does. It does. And you've got to build those brain connections. And so, we talk about how many days it takes to make something a habit. And, believe me, if she does this starting now at her age and practices, even if she doesn't do it every day, she at least understands that, and she will practice it way more.
Yes.
So,
Yes. She's ahead of the game. She's getting ahead of the game way more than I was, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing you do, I feel, is you make it let's not just say normalize it, but it's accepted. You make us feel accepted, like accepted, because it's very easy with ADHD to feel, weird or different, or, not fit in like everyone else. But you
Mhm.
you allow acceptance of reality. There's no value in putting your head in the sand about it or act like it doesn't exist, because you can act like it as much as you want, but it's going to remind you that it exists, like every day.
Yeah.
Like every day. You can't. I I once asked, can I get one day off? Like one day with no ADHD. God hasn't answered that prayer yet, but hey, it is what it is. One thing
Yep.
I'll say is we're very resilient. So that's one thing I'll credit our lateral minds with, being able to take a look in and keep ticking. But what helps us keep ticking more is support, to
Yeah.
have acceptance, to have, and here's the thing, if even though most people, in the world don't have ADHD, you don't have to understand everything about it in order to have some compassion and some mercy for those who have it,
Mhm.
because we work double hard to do basic stuff, as I just described. So, have a heart, you know what I mean? Don't just chalk it up to laziness. So speaking of
Mhm.
laziness, how would you distinguish laziness from a challenge with ADHD within an individual? How would you, like, if a parent might be like, you know what, ADHD, that's a whole bunch of alphabet soup letters. My kid is just lazy. So how would you
Mhm.
distinguish, help educate a parent about, let them know their child is not lazy?
Yeah. I mean, it's, doing what I just did, talking about ADHD is not a behavioral diagnosis. It's an executive function issue. And, one of the other executive functions is task initiation,
Mm-hmm.
right? What does that mean? And with kids, I break down what each of those big words mean. I say,
Mm-hmm.
doctors, we like to use these huge words, but I just want to make sure you know. So if you hear this, you know exactly what we're talking about, because I
Yeah.
need you to be a part of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so task initiation, we talk about that, and they like look at the word, they talk to their senior detective, they like try to put it together, and then we come up with getting started, right? And
Yeah.
again, if your brain is doing a preferred activity and you're automatically told, okay, it's time to turn that TV off or that screen off, you got to get ready for bed. Are you kidding me? Like that's so hard to
Pulling
stop
teeth. Pulling teeth.
that transition.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But again, we have to help everybody understand what ADHD is and what it isn't. Parents, teachers, other caregivers, and especially the child. Because if not, they hear things like, you're just lazy. Why are you doing that? Stop doing that. You need to listen. You need to get going. How many times I have to tell you?
Mm-hmm.
They're hearing that feedback, and they're going to be believing it because that's all they hear.
Right.
And I mean, I think it's one of those things that I truly believe, that knowledge is power. And when I hear about people saying, gosh, she's got ADHD, you know and I just think, oh goodness, I need to start from the beginning, because I
Yeah.
also want to make sure I'm watching the kiddo. I want to make sure how they're reacting, how they're responding,
Mm-hmm.
because I want them to know that it's not a disability, it's their unique ability. And it's
Mm-hmm.
on us to help give them the facts and then show them, invite them to get curious so that they
Yeah.
understand how their brain is working.
Right.
Unless we help them make those connections by first being able to reflect, like observe, reflect, and then talk about it, they're not going to know. They're just going to go through life and just believe that this is always the way it's been. And,
Right.
I'm just not good enough. I have to work harder, whatever. But I really believe that when kids are struggling, it comes out in so many different ways, meltdowns, tantrums, defiance,
Mm-hmm.
oppositionality, whatever, bad grades, that all of those things can make kids just, their self-esteem just go down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I want kids to know there's nothing wrong with them. They just need to understand how their brain works. They also need to know that they need to set in place explicit sort of systems that speak to their ADHD brain.
Right.
They need things that are visual. They
Right.
need things that are more than just being told auditory wise. When you combine it with eye contact, tactile at the same time, we're activating more senses. It's getting in there, right? We're calling attention to it. We're bringing them back to attention.
Saying their name too, not yelling their name, but
Yes.
saying their name when you want to speak to them, so it gets their attention too.
Yes, yes. And parents have to learn that too. I mean, again, if you can learn how to more effectively, get your child's attention, be better able to communicate, it decreases frustration for everybody, right? So that's why this course is really kind of my labor of love, because I saw a gap. I saw a gap. I'm a behavioral pediatrician, as you said, and the American Academy of Pediatrics really does suggest it's a chronic condition.
Yes.
And we need to do chronic care management. So what does that mean? That means we need to do education. We need to create a care plan. We need to constantly reevaluate how that care plan is going. And the bottom line is looking at overall functioning. How is that child doing at home and school? And if they're not going well, if it's not going well, what do we need to put in place? And we need to reevaluate that. It needs to be a fluid discussion, because school is the hardest stressor for kids' brains. Every year it gets harder. But that's a good thing. I mean, they need to keep learning, right?
Right.
But it taxes that frontal lobe, which again is lagging already compared to, neurotypical peers. And each year we need to make sure that we put in place systems and a team around that child so that they can continue to learn, because they're not dumb. They just learn and think differently, but then so that they can thrive and they feel good about themselves. It's so important. So we've got to start that education early. There is a gap in doing this, because oftentimes, my colleagues who are general pediatricians, and yes, I'm a behavioral pediatrician, but I'm not, please do not come to me for rashes and things like that. That's not what I do anymore.
Right.
But for those on the front lines, they see so many kids with ADHD. Their visits, though, 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it's just how outpatient pediatrics is. I mean, it's 30, 50 visits a day. It's a lot. And so for behavioral mental health conditions, you've really got to unpack what's going on. You can't just hear something and be like, oh, it's this.
Right.
Because you've really got to understand the context. You've got to understand the function of that behavior. And there's no swab, there's no blood test, there is no something that I can do to say, oh, it's this. No, I've got to listen to the stories. And so getting back to the detective theme, that's what I tell kids. I'm like, I'm a doctor, but really I work like a detective, because I've got to listen to the stories. I've got to look for the clues. I've got to look for trends. I've got to not jump to conclusions. And I've got to evaluate the evidence to understand.
And listen too. You got to listen.
Yes.
That's what's lacking. Listening can happen in a short period of time sometimes. It's hard because we're rushing because you have the next patient to see. So you're able to basically have a ongoing relationship with the patients you help, because you're able to listen over time and really get to know them and learn how to help them best, and I really like how practical everything is, because I did your program. We did your program. What was it? November? Is it? I don't know. October, November,
September.
Something like that. September. And there's still things that I can redo it again and just still gain different things I didn't see last time, or just reinforce, and it's very applicable for life and just continue on. We have the launching pad. So before we leave the house, I got. Both my daughter and I, we put our clothes out on that launching. It's in the living room, but who cares? Nobody's visiting us overnight.
No, that's
My husband knows the deal.
But you put that system in place. That was training mission 4. I mean, we talked about organization, planning, all of those things.
Yeah. And what's interesting? I learned something recently. I don't know who put it. I want to give credit to whoever it was, but how we have issues with time management and deadlines. So there's a deadline, but then we should also have a win line, when we actually get it done. When are we going to do it, right? But
Yes.
that deadline might be tomorrow, but you should have started before. When are you going to do it? It should have been before. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't want to I'm not monopolize a whole bunch of your time, but if for anyone who's watching, if you have any questions for Dr. Bauer, please put your questions in the question box. And then I'd like for you, Dr. Bauer, to tell me what is the biggest compliment or the biggest or the best feedback that you've received from parents who participated in your 8-week course?
You know, I mean, for me, when I hear from families that before they started the program, they just didn't know how to interact with their child. You know, it seemed like there were meltdowns, there were fights, arguing. And now, after going through the course, with the knowledge of what it is and that understanding, their relationships have changed. You know, their way of connecting and communicating together has changed. I mean, you can go to my YouTube channel and see those testimonials. I mean, it is the most beautiful thing. And I will tell you, that has been my mission since I, started in academia and went into this field. I hear stories of families struggling, and, I want to help these families get to a better place. And we have the ability to. We just need to understand how to meet each other where we are.
Right. Yes. Understanding knowledge is power. Also, applied knowledge is power, right? Yeah. It's not, you have the knowledge, but if you don't apply it, it's not going to be good. And you give us the ability or the capacity to apply what we learn, which is awesome. I'm going to put your website, if I can, without being too awkward with it. I thought I was supposed to be able to put my own comment in here. Okay, yeah, I can. So I'll put your website in here for anyone or everyone who I suggest go to her site and tell me what is the deadline or the win line or deadline for registering for your course, because you got another cohort coming up, right?
Yes. So thank you for that. And, I really do hope that if this video is resonating with you, or if you know families with kids who have ADHD and they're struggling, this course is perfect for kids newly diagnosed. Recommended ages are 8 to 12. But, I've had some mature 7-year-olds go through the program. But it's really meant as the jumping off point for families, so that way they can onboard together. They can learn together, build their common language, their toolbox of strategies, and learn how to work together as a team. And the beauty of it is that, you're taking this class, it's interactive on Zoom with other families, just like yours. And so your kiddo understands they're not different. They're not weird. They're other kids just like them. And that's the most powerful thing, to give your child that experience, because kids don't go up to each other and say, hey, I got ADHD. Do you? Right. No, they don't do that. So, this way they get to meet other kids who are just as cool and fun as they are. And they get to see and learn all together. And for parents too, they hear stories. They can see how if kids are getting up and all of this, at the beginning, and then towards the end, we're all like, yeah, this is just what happens.
Yeah. Everybody's moving around. Everybody's halfway in the screen. Everybody's something's, that's just how it is. And everybody's accepted. And it's just, it's a beautiful,
it is. And so, I offer this 3 times a year, and you're right. Agency doors are now open. The deadline to register for this cohort is Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. However, tonight at 11:59 p.m. is the deadline for taking 10% off. So if you're totally interested, you're like, oh my gosh, we got to go into this agency and get started, please reach out to me, because I have the top secret code, and then you can apply that at checkout. But I got to tell you, what price would you pay for knowing that your child feels good about themselves, has that self-esteem, has the ability to advocate for themselves and understand their brain, and know how to ask for help, how to, work with you? It's
priceless.
It's so priceless. And I tell you, the best part for me in this class is, seeing the change week to week, not just in the kids and how they just show up, right? But it's those moments of connection that I see between the parent and child. You know, the top secret, and without giving it away. I mean,
Yeah.
you have deeds and family missions each week that are specifically designed to work on, you know, putting in place systems and connecting. But there's one top secret mission for junior detectives and one top secret mission for senior detectives. Senior detectives get theirs early because you're supposed to be working on it every week until the end. The best part is when that last class comes and the senior detectives give their junior detectives this thing that you're asked to do, seeing the connection, the smiles, the giggles, I mean, it makes me just like know that this was so worth it. This
Mission
journey.
accomplished.
You
Mission
know,
accomplished.
I'm just like, oh, this is the best. So,
yeah. Wow. Thank you
yeah.
so much. And your passion and your enthusiasm for the course is infectious. It just rubs off on everyone else. So I'm just like, how could you not, you guys, want to learn from this wonderful, excited, brilliant physician here? Like, she's a real advocate. She cares. She's a hardworking woman. She's just creative. Like, I don't know what. Just like, so, I mean, and I'm real. So, like, I am not going to say something I don't mean or believe. So, if anyone has any questions, they want to ask me on the side, whatever, send me a message, question. I will be honest with you. I will tell you like it is. And I'm for it. I'm for it. And I'm also I've also extended my participation in it. You know, I'm what you call me? A senior, a veteran?
A founding member.
You're
founding
like member?
In the community. Because like when you purchase the program, you get 6 months. So you not only get the 2 months of interactive live classes, you get 4 more months in this closed Facebook community of support. Because I know that doing it once, doing it twice, it's not enough. You've got to keep practicing. So we're there to celebrate that. But I also bring in awesome, amazing guests, other physicians, other psychologists, you know, other therapists, other authors, other people who have something to add to the community and bring value, because I want to hear about what parents are still struggling with, what kids are still struggling with, and we tackle it. We bring in people to address it so that we can all learn and lift each other up. And then and I also do a senior detective call only, so we can kind of just hear what's going on, support each other. And then I also have started a monthly junior detective gathering, because they just love to like see each other. So
yeah, we missed the last one. I think it was there bingo or something.
Yes, it was virtual bingo.
I think we conflicted with something, but we're not going to miss the next one whenever it is. Looking forward to the package, whatever's in the mail, because I know it's going to be fun.
I know. Our junior detectives like to get some fun mail, so you know. I do that too. But it's so much fun, and I welcome any family who wants to go on this journey, to be in a supportive community, to be with other families, to learn, to grow, to support, to please consider joining. It is an amazing community, and it's because of the amazing people in it. And I'm just going to tell you guys one secret, and I tell this to the kids, not right away, but mostly because I just totally found out I have a formal diagnosis of ADHD myself. I mean, you know, so here I am just at the age of,
come on, say it.
47.
Oh, beautiful, 47. Beautiful. She looks awesome.
Here I am.
Is a privilege. AD is a privilege. Okay. It is a privilege. Awesome. And she's gone this far, and she's changing so many lives, and she's just getting started. So it's wonderful. Thank you for, I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm so glad you shared that.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm like, this is my superpower. No, this is why I think I can do this. The reality is
that's why it works, because you get it. You get it. Like, it makes sense that you're so in tune with it because you get it. And the stuff works. Like, seriously. So I knew before you knew, or you didn't have to tell me, because we know our own. I'm just saying. But it makes me love it more, because you're not just hypothetically from some textbook you're reading and learning how to help these ADHD people. You get it. You know what works, and you tested it out. And all right, I'm going to stop. I go get excited. But no, You guys, it's the real deal. So you got 10% off up until tonight. And then on Sunday, whatever date that is, tell me the date. I don't know.
The 13th. The 13th.
13th at midnight Eastern Standard Time is when doors are going to close for this next cohort. Dr. Nerissa Bauer, thank you so much for joining me, for your time, and everyone else. Have a good night, and I'll be seeing you later, Detective.
Yes, it was fun.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And go play around with the little things. I'll show you later.
I've got to. You got to show me how to do that.
Yes, totally. Ooh. All right. Have a good night. It's the glitch. This is called toxic glitch.
Oh.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.